What's up, Star Wars fans? We're the Hilsmaniacs, and today we're going to be giving our thoughts on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series so far. So if you had to pick one of the 3 episodes that we've seen so far that have been shown to us, which one would you say was like your favorite episode so far?
The third one, because Darth Vader.
Darth Vader is a horror movie serial killer in this series.
Literally, I think scarier than Michael Myers at this point.
Right. I like how they've portrayed him as that sort of character, like Obi-Wan's sort of nightmare, like coming back to haunt him. You know, he's concealed in darkness in the 3rd episode and everything else. But for me personally, I think just the way they did the 1st episode made it almost seem like it was better. Just the story of it, like how Obi-Wan was in exile and it has been for 10 years. And the way they like built that up to like drag him back into it. It's one of those classic tropes of like the hero that doesn't want to be a hero anymore gets dragged back into the fight again, even though they're trying to be like retired and everything else. We saw that in the movie like Logan. If you're an X-Men or Marvel fan, you know, you've seen that movie. Where he was like, Wolverine was basically retired and couldn't really fight anymore, and he's getting older and everything else, and he gets dragged back in for one more fight. That was similar to that, and I like the way Ewan McGregor portrayed like Obi-Wan as that kind of person who's like, you know, he knows that he failed everything. He failed Anakin, he failed the Jedi Order and all that stuff, and you can see that in his expressions and emotions and everything else. I think he did a really nice job acting as Obi-Wan in that 1st episode. And the 2nd episode I feel like just kind of like you know, other than that ending where he's like Anakin, and then you just see, you know, Anakin's eyes open.
I like the fact that they're putting Darth Vader as a focal point of the series. If they did this without showing Vader, I think it would be less exciting. So I like
You think it'd be less exciting?
Yes. So I think that Vader being in this really gives it that kind of thrill and like, you know, suspense that we need for a good Star Wars series. Because if you watch at least the original Star Wars, it was always like, what's going to happen next? Where's this going to go? You know, when Han gets captured, like, what's going to happen? When Luke goes to fight Vader, what's going to happen? You know, things like that. And we haven't really had that in the prequels or the new ones because they weren't really that exciting. So I think to see that in this, where it's like, you don't know what Vader's going to do in this. And to know that this is only 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, so Vader is still somewhat young at this point. Like, he's still basically new to the suit and new to his new, like, force abilities through the dark side, because it's only been 10 years since he became corrupted by the dark side. So he might not even know what all he's capable of yet. You know, fully capable of, at least. And so I kind of like that aspect, too, that it also makes you wonder, what is Vader going through? Not just what is Obi-Wan going through. Because we can see what Obi-Wan's going through. That's what the series is about. Well, but we also learn, you know, what these other characters might be thinking. And with Leia being involved in this and all of that kind of stuff. And the Inquisitors and, you know, Owen Lars was in the 1st episode. So I like that the 3rd episode really focused on Vader in a way, and basically what he wants from Obi-Wan. Like, he wants Obi-Wan to feel what he felt, you know. He wants him to have that pain that he has. So I like that they're going that route and not just making this series about Obi-Wan, even though it is called Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right, and I think that dynamic works too, because you see both sides of the coin. You see what Vader's going through, like, you know, he wants revenge on Obi-Wan. Like, he even told him, like, I want you to suffer basically the same way that he suffered, and he said, "I am what you made me be," when Obi-Wan asked him, like, "What are you, or what have you become," or whatever. And I also like how they're showing how Obi-Wan is sort of struggling, like, with the Force, because he's been away from it for so long. He basically gave up on being a Jedi to go into hiding, and he's struggling to get all that back. Like in the third episode in particular, when he's fighting with Vader, he was using his lightsaber for defense rather
Right.
than actually doing the flips and the Jedi tricks and all that stuff that we've seen him do in the past. He really is like a broken man, whereas like Anakin for the last 10 years has become more powerful, even though he is technically a broken man now. So I kind of like that comparison between the two
Right.
characters. And even with Vader sending out the Inquisitors and stuff, it doesn't make the Inquisitors seem like they're outshining anybody else, because it makes sense why they're there. They're looking for all the remaining Jedi that
Right.
are still alive after Order 66. So I kind of like that story as well. And one of the Inquisitors just wants to impress Vader, so she's going after Obi-Wan for him, essentially.
And killed the Grand Inquisitor, who's supposed to be
Apparently.
alive 10 years later in
Right.
Rebels.
Apparently. Time travel or something.
Yeah, something
Who knows?
happened. He's obviously not dead. I think he's gonna come back.
But yeah, and I like that Vader is sort of using her emotions of wanting to, like,
Right.
take down Obi-Wan for, even if, I mean, we don't know if she has any other personal issue with Obi-Wan, but right now all we've been told kind of is that she kind of wants to do it so that Vader will choose her to be like the new Grand Inquisitor or whatever someday
I have
in
a
the
feeling
future.
that it has something to do with Order 66 and maybe the fact that like he left her. Because we
Something
saw
like
at
that.
the
He could have
beginning
been
with those
right.
younglings, their master getting killed and stuff, like in the first episode in the flashback. And I think, I've heard theories that one of those kids was Reva. Is that her name?
Yeah,
Reva?
I've heard that.
So, if that could be the case. Like, Obi-Wan didn't come back for her, so it made her, like, once she realized that he was still alive, kind of thing, like, oh, he didn't come back for me, so now, like, it's his fault that I'm here. That's basically what it's like. Or she went to Anakin because she knew Obi-Wan didn't come for her, so she went
Right.
to Anakin, and Anakin was evil, so, it was like she became corrupt, too. I also like the fact that they are bringing in a lot of things that we've seen in other aspects of the canon Star Wars, like the
True.
Inquisitors, which we've only up until now seen in Rebels and Jedi Fallen Order, the video game. And, so we get to see them in this. We got to see their headquarters on that's like an underground fortress thing, but also comes up out of the water, and it was kind of cool to see that outside of a video game.
Right.
And even just mentioning different characters that like up until now could have only been speculated as to what happened to them after Order 66. For example, Quinlan Voss, who was a Jedi Master who everybody assumed survived Order 66, and I think it was confirmed that he did, but now it is confirmed that he survived Order 66, because Obi-Wan mentioned him in this episode, so I like that they're bringing in these different aspects, even if it is kind of confusing because of the whole Grand Inquisitor thing. But I like that they play that in subtly while also still focusing on the main plot. And it wasn't just like, oh, Quinlan was here, let's go on a journey to find Quinlan Voss now, in an Obi-Wan series. It was just a quick little reference, I think, as kind of like a fanfare to tell us that, yes, Quinlan is still alive. And I like that they're doing that. They're not focusing on some other side character like they did in the Book of Boba Fett.
Right, like, yeah, I was going to say that.
The focus is
right.
Vader and Obi-Wan. That's the main
Right.
focus. And Reva, kind of. But that's the main focus of the series, and I love that they're doing that.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel too overcrowded like
Right.
the Book of Boba Fett or even The Mandalorian sometimes does, where it focuses on the other characters that exist in that little world. Because, I mean, yeah, that exists in the Star Wars universe, but, you can kind of call it like the Mandoverse, sort of, where it's like the Mandalorian, Ahsoka series, and the Book of Boba Fett, and all those have all the crossover characters. And that kind of feels a little bit overcrowded, especially if you watch the Book of Boba Fett. There were 2 whole episodes pretty much just dedicated to Mando, and then like Luke Skywalker and Grogu and stuff. It had nothing to do with Boba Fett. So I like that they're not like throwing everything at us at once. It doesn't seem too complicated of a story. It's just like, here's what's going on. Vader is now, we know Vader is Anakin Skywalker, but Obi-Wan doesn't know he's alive, and now he sent out all these Inquisitors out to find these Jedi, and Obi-Wan is one of them. And they kidnapped Leia to draw Obi-Wan out. And I like that as well, where it wasn't some like random girl that was like the thing that brings him out of hiding. Like, oh, they kidnapped the senator's daughter or somebody. Just example.
Yeah, it was a character that comes into play later on.
Yeah, right. And that also kind of shows you the future, like with how Leia kind of knows to contact Obi-Wan when she was in trouble in A New Hope.
Right.
She knew him as a kid because of these events, so I kind of like that she's following him on this journey as well. I didn't really necessarily like that he already kind of rescued her. Like, I feel like that could have been at least drawn out maybe one more episode. But I do like that they're kind of partnering them up so that she can learn about him, and he's maybe starting to learn more about himself through being her guardian, and he's going to eventually, get the Force back and all that stuff.
Right.
Or at least even enough to, like, fight Vader or the Inquisitors or whatever to protect Leia. In comparison to, like, The Mandalorian and all that, like, where do you see this? Like, is it better than Mandalorian?
Okay.
Book of Boba Fett and all that stuff?
It's definitely better than Book of Boba Fett.
That was I mean, that series wasn't bad. It was just like...
See, there's aspects of... When I look at Star Wars, I look at it more of like aspects rather than a whole, because there aren't specific like things that are entirely bad. There's good parts of everything. So even Attack of the Clones, which is crap, but whatever. So like for me, I think the majority of Obi-Wan Kenobi is better than The Mandalorian, with the or excluding the Grogu stuff, because I think that's kind of important, and I think it might actually play into, or Obi-Wan Kenobi might actually in some way play into the Grogu stuff if we figure that out later on, that maybe that was Obi-Wan that saved him, or even if it was Anakin and they mention it later on, and that's why Vader wants to go after, or everybody wants to go after Grogu and Mandalorian. So I think that would be interesting to go that route. So I think the Grogu storyline is better than pretty much everything, just because it's Grogu.
Grogu.
But overall, I would say that for me personally, and it could just be because of the Darth Vader thing, and Vader is great, but I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is better than pretty much every series, animated or not, that we've seen.
I think it's certainly so far it's been that. I hope it only gets better from here, and doesn't kind of go downhill by like the 4th or 5th episode. I think my favorite part about this whole series is how they're like I think it's just Vader in general, like we said earlier, like, because when we first see him in, like, Star Wars altogether, is in A New Hope. Like, when you first see him, he's walking down a white hallway on a white ship in the full light and everything else, and he's not that menacing, really, because he's in his black... Well, compared to, like, this series, where he's, like, popping up behind Obi-Wan in the darkness, and all you see him in is... Or the only light you see is, like, the lights from the buttons on his suit and his lightsaber when he opens it. It's like he's bathed in darkness there, compared to in A New Hope when we first see him, he's in like the light and everything. I feel like he's more menacing in this, and it makes him feel like more of a true horror villain. And I like that they're doing it like that, because it makes it seem more like grounded and not like, oh, this is Star Wars, it's just fun, whatever. Like, this makes it feel more serious. It makes him feel more like a threat.
Well, and that's what...
And a haunting figure from Obi-Wan's past coming back to life, essentially, to come after him. I like how they're showing that.
Right, and that's like what I said, when I brought up the point about Vader not truly knowing, like, what he's doing right now. He's still letting his anger control his emotions right now, and it's it might, obviously, it'll end up getting the better of him eventually when the stuff in A New Hope and Empire and stuff starts happening, and he calms down a little bit in his old age. But, as of right now, he's still fixed on Obi-Wan because of what happened on Mustafar. And so, Vader being like this isn't necessarily because he turned to the dark side. It's because he wants Obi-Wan to understand what he's going through in a way. I think, mentally, that's what Vader is thinking at this point.
Right, and I like that he even tried to, burn Obi-Wan in a fire and stuff. He's like, now you will suffer,
Right.
And he was holding him there by the Force and, kind of force choking him and holding him down to the ground inside the fire and stuff, trying to burn him and scar him like he is. Now, I thought that was, a really well-worked scene, and then he kind of, lets his emotions take over. He doesn't burn him fully, didn't he, push him out or whatever? Yeah. So he just wanted him to suffer. He doesn't want to necessarily kill Obi-Wan right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure something will happen by the end of this that leads to him wanting to kill Obi-Wan in A New Hope. But so far, I think the series is doing really well. I think it's a lot of fun just to kind of explore that time in between Episode 3, and A New Hope. And I'm looking forward to the next 3 episodes. Is there anything you want to say before we end? Do you think theories about what might come next or anything like that?
I think right now it's pretty straightforward because we know where it has to end.
Right.
It has to end with him back on Tatooine to make A New Hope, make sense. So he has to end up there. I do hope that we get the Darth Maul and Ezra stuff from Rebels. I doubt it at this point because they're kind of retconning Rebels if Grand Inquisitor's
That's
dead.
what it seems like.
But if we do, if he does end up back on Tatooine within the next 2 episodes, I hope we at least get a mention of that. And if it doesn't happen here, then happen in Season 2, which I think has pretty much been confirmed. Even if it's not Season 2, but it's called Season 1 Part 2 or whatever. I think that we should get that. That would be something I would be looking forward to. But overall, I really don't. I have no overall complaints. There's been some things where it kind of dragged, where it was a lot of talking, or
right. But I
the
feel
stuff
like it
with
was
Obi-Wan and Leia bonding. It's Star Wars, that happens, but
it was still important.
Get to the action,
It was still important to the plot, though.
Right.
It wasn't just random, just talking to some random dude. Although the second episode kind of
that
was
stuff
that,
with Kumail Nanjiani's character was
that was kind of whatever.
That was pointless, but okay.
I hope that the series continues down the path it's going, though, where it's showing Obi-Wan's struggle to get back into being a Jedi, and I kind of like that they're showing that now. And if there is going to be a Season 2, I hope it kind of explores that even further. He starts to relearn everything again or something like that. It'd be if you stop doing something for several years and you might not be as good at it as you once were. Playing the piano or something, or playing the guitar. And you have to relearn it to get back into it. And I think that's really cool that they're showing Obi-Wan struggling to do that. Now he's going to have to, get back on the skateboard again and relearn the Force and how to be a Jedi and everything. I think that's a lot of they could explore in a Season 2 or even in the last 3 episodes of this series.
Right.
But let us know what you guys think down in the comments section. Are you enjoying the series so far? And let us know what your favorite episode was. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more.
Thanks for watching this video, everyone. And remember, leave the scumbaggery at home, and may the Force be with you.
Bye, guys.
Subscribe.